So this is my first time ever making or trying a video like this, so please remember that going in. But growing up, I only played Precursor Legacy and part of Jak 2. So to be able to play and find all 6 games and fully beat them was so much fun. I'm going to start this video by listing all 6 titles in a tier list. Going in for the S tier, I had the original Jak and Daxter. This was kind of the start of all of it for me. The characters were amazing, the graphics and controls were amazing for its time. It really just put everything into place to get the series started. And then this might be an unpopular opinion, but I also have Jak 3 in this. You know, going from Jak 2 and even Precursor Legacy and the way it ended, it really put everything into perspective as well. It was a great way to really end the series, and it had really good introductions to really dope characters, different ways to race, and a whole different array of areas to explore. And then my A tier, I got Jak 2. The game was also really, really good, and you could even shuffle that into S tier, honestly. But the checkpoints were just really rough for me. Playing that sewer mission and doing all the races with Errol and then the Grand Prix missions and that mirror missions were just aggravating. Other than that, it was an amazing game. In B tier, I got Jak X. Before this game, I wasn't a huge fan of standalone racing games, but all the different abilities they give you make it stand out to me, and the storyline was also pretty well written and pretty fun. And I also have Daxter in here. I feel like it's a really good spin-off to a game. I mean, the story was very intriguing. I wish they would have had Osmo in the other games, but, you know, it was still really dope to play. And the missions were really, really fun. And the dreams were also really, really fun. Really, really aggravating, though. And then in my C tier, I got Lost Frontier. You know, if this game had no ties to Jak and Daxter and completely different characters, I think I would rank this higher. In terms of this being the last game for the series that we had, just kind of makes it more depressing. There were really cool features in this game and really dope abilities. I truly think if they could have had the original feel of movement with these abilities, this game would have skyrocketed in popularity. Next, I'm going to try to dig into 3 favorite characters that do not include Jak and Daxter. And I think my first one has to be Sig, who was introduced in Jak 2. He was just always a badass for me. He could do everything, and then learning more of his backstory in Jak 3 made him a very compelling character to me. And I also loved Osmo. You know, he was really, introduced in Jak and Daxter. He might have been the really first peaceful character we really ran into. He was just really trying to run a company, and the metalheads were out to get him. And then, obviously, Bruder and Jak 2. You know, going from lurkers that we hated in Jak 1 to him just being a goofy character and having the ability to speak was very intriguing. And he'd always be cracking me up and just a fun character to see in missions. And so now I want to move into, kind of touching base with my personal opinions on my favorite missions and my least favorite missions per game. For the original Jak and Daxter, the Snowy Mountain was probably the most frustrating but fulfilling part of Jak 1. Had so many curveballs and the missions were quite difficult, at least for me. But had a lot of different things we have not seen yet. Now, Spider Cave was probably my least favorite part of Precursor Legacy. It had one really cool mission with it being glow in the dark and trying to navigate, but overall the missions were long and I really struggled to figure out where I needed to be. And Jak 2, the Mountain Temple missions are pretty cool. A lot of different styles were needed to finish these, and a lot of different bosses and mini bosses, and some really cool cutscenes. Now, the city race with Errol is probably my least favorite. I swear I'd hit somebody every single time. Right when I think I'm doing good, some dude would just walk right in my car and destroy my time. In Jak 3, the Breakthrough Ruins mission, when there's no hope and he uses his call to call Deimos back, and he comes and helps out only to fall in battle. Then we get the epic cutscene where we learn Deimos is Jak's dad. And then gliding through the volcano, I'm not sure if my controller just sucks or I do, but I really did not enjoy nor do well with this mission. In Jak X, there was no real missions, in my opinion. I mean, there was different types of races, but I really liked the final boss fight, and I really hated the freeze trials. I mean, some of those were just really hard for me. And then Lost Frontier, the Dark Daxter missions were really, really cool and unique. It gave us something different with Dexter. Usually, we're just using him to climb through pipes or something, but to him get his own little missions at this point was pretty cool. And then stopping the Behemoth. I hated these missions, everything about these missions. And considering I did not realize you could upgrade your ship at the time, I was out there with like level 1 everything, just getting cooked. And Daxter, I really enjoyed the palace. Going through all the lasers and the bookshelves and everything the palace had to offer was extremely fun to me, especially considering we've already been in the palace, but not really. And, I had to move much more methodical than any other time. Also, the good share of metalheads and different locations we haven't seen and really good cutscenes. And then my least favorite is probably the Hive Queen. I mean, I had no clue you had to spray it to make it come down from the fences. I was in a constant loop until I realized that's what had to be done. And lastly, I just wanted to talk about what I think could be a continuation of the game. And this is kind of inspired on Reddit. I saw where someone mentioned after Jak 3, they traveled back in time to help with the Metalhead invasion that they kind of, started, working much more with the Sages. I mean, it's kind of sad we never really got to see any of the Sages in action besides Samos. And then overall ranking the series, this is my first playthrough of a full series, so that might be a little biased, but I give it a 10 out of 10. I only played the first and the second one as a child, and, I don't remember everything. So to be able to play through all 6 back to back to back to back to back to back to back was quite the thrill. Hopefully in the future we can see something come together for a new game, though. But thank you all for listening and watching. Have a great day.